Are you going to be visiting Carson City, Nevada? Well, your Carson City adventure awaits you. We have 4 real seasons here in Carson City. We have some snow in the winter, and we have warmer summers, but usually under 100 degrees. We have a very short spring and fall season as well. When you're here in Carson City, I highly recommend that you visit the Capitol grounds. Stroll the beautiful walkways through the trees. It's absolutely magnificent. We have a very vibrant, safe, eclectic downtown area with restaurants and outdoor eateries. You can sit at the outside tables, and you're right across from the beautiful Capitol grounds. We have lots of outdoor activities here in Carson City. We have hiking, biking, swimming, and skiing in the wintertime. There's trails all over where you can just stroll, or you can hike on some of the hills, and lots of areas to walk your dog or go to the dog park. We're very pet friendly here.
Hey, it's Joshua Priou here, and I'm going to talk to you today about your Carson City adventure. And so Lisa and I are going to talk to you about a lot of the great things about Carson City, as always. But I'm really going to talk to you more about the family aspect of things and the fun things to do in Lake Tahoe, and of course, how to get here. So all these are big parts of coming to Carson City, and I'd love to tell you about it. So, jumping in, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the family fun aspect of Carson City. And there's some pretty unique things here to do. Of course, there's the normal stuff. There's plenty of parks, lots of fun stuff like that. But there's some special places too. And one of the things I want to talk about was Bob McFadden Plaza, which is literally right across the street from my office here. So if you haven't heard us before, we're about a block from the Legislative Building. We're about a block off of Carson Street, which is basically Main Street that runs through Carson City, where all of our Capitol buildings are and everything. And Bob McFadden Plaza is literally right here. I can hear the music playing from it, but it's a cool place for kids. So a couple of restaurants right there, which are fun to go to for all ages. The Fox is a great one. It is really kind of a brewery, but they have all family type of entrees, and you can get burgers and fish and chips and that kind of thing. And of course, there's a full bar there as well. And you have outdoor patio seating. Right across the way from there, there's a great breakfast restaurant called Mom and Pop's. Great place to bring the family for sure. And then right next door to there is Scoops, which is a ice cream place. But they also do soup and sandwiches as well. And then just back off of that area is the Piazza, which is actually a really nice little Italian restaurant. So all kind of surrounding that plaza there, but there's a stage right there in the plaza. And they put in a splash pad for the kids. So in the summertime here, it's nonstop kids screaming stuff going on out there, running through the water. Super fun, but they have live music there all the time as well. So typically in the afternoons, almost every day of the week, but definitely on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, you're going to have live music out there, sometimes full band, sometimes single musician. And so it's a really cool place to bring your kids or just hang out as a family if you want to chill at the Fox and drink a beer while your kids running through the splash pad. That's perfectly okay. It works out great for everybody. So really cool. Another place I like to take my kids to, and we didn't do it a ton, but if you haven't been to Carson City before, you definitely want to go check out the Nevada State Railroad Museum. The place is really cool. It's just a little bit further south of me here from downtown, maybe 2 or 3 minute drive. And you can't miss it. From Carson Street, you got the big old school, locomotive sitting right out there on the road. They actually have 65 locomotive and cars in the collection, and like 40 of those were built before 1900. So the collection's amazing, and what you don't see from the road is, they have a couple of trains usually sitting out front there, but they have this whole warehouse in the back, and you can go take a tour of it. And that's where you're going to go see all the old school, trains and cars, and it's pretty impressive actually. And you can take train rides. They do a little loop around the whole museum. They actually have hand car rides. I haven't done that before, but it sounds pretty fun to me. And you can go inside the main, the main museum area. There's all kinds of exhibits, and they do lectures, and there's different events going on there. But really the most fun thing for the kiddos is checking out the trains. and going on the train ride. So really cool stuff. Just on the north end of Carson City here is Carson Hot Springs. Another cool place. So when you think of hot springs, you're thinking of like this like dark brown, murky mineral water, and it's really more like a pool area. So an outdoor pool and hot tub where you can go and hang out and play and, you know, just have a good old time swimming. But it is a hot spring. So the water comes in out of the ground at like 121 degrees, and they keep it clean and a acceptable temperature. In the summertime, it's like between 93 and 96 degrees in the pool. In the wintertime, they raise it up. It's like 98 to 100. So year round, you can go to this outdoor pool, and the water temperature is extraordinary. Of course, it's, you know, just like any hot springs, exfoliating and makes your skin feel all good. And just, you know, it's a great place to relax. But all in all, it's really just like a play area for the kids. It's another pool where you can go, and it's really fun. There's a hot tub there as well, and that's all mineral water. So kind of a cool little spot there. I'd say a little hidden gem. There's also a children's museum here. So kind of fun thing, just like any other children's museum. Of course, you know, it's a little Carson City base. So there's art and science, but history obviously is the big one with Carson City, and, you know, our dynamic here in the 19th century, and, you know, the rush of people to the West Coast. So there's a lot of really cool history about Carson City you'll want to learn about. And the kids enjoy it because there's interactive exhibits and, you know, play-based learning and that kind of stuff. So it's fun, you know, a few hours to go and bring the kiddos to, and they enjoy themselves. But there is actually the Nevada State Museum as well. And that's really cool for all ages. Of course, adults get a lot more learning out of it, but you really celebrate, you know, Nevada's, you know, natural and cultural heritage there. And of course, history is going to be, you know, the focus. But they actually have some pretty cool natural history exhibits and replicas too, like of mines and like old ghost towns. And of course, right there at the Nevada State Museum is the Mint. So that's a really cool tour and a pretty fun thing to do for the families as well. Now, don't forget, there's the normal stuff, like I said earlier, lots of parks, going hiking, biking, you know, all that fun stuff. But the things I'm talking about are really like unique to Carson City and very cool. Yeah, the other really cool thing that we get to do here, living in Carson City or the Carson Valley, is get up to Lake Tahoe. And if you watch any of our other videos before, you know that I'm a big fan of Lake Tahoe. I was fortunate to move it up to Lake Tahoe back in my early 20s. And honestly, I was just a snowboard bum. And after college, I thought it would just be fun to go ski for a season or two. And I ended up making my life here. Lots of reasons for that. But really important to note, my wife was actually born and raised in South Lake Tahoe. And we met when I first moved up to the Tahoe area. And I lived in South Lake as well for 10 years. So definitely have Tahoe in my blood. But I've talked about it before as well. Coming down here to the Carson Valley was probably the biggest and best move I made. I can still enjoy all that Tahoe has to offer and not have to live there. A couple of reasons why. I mentioned before, the snow can be very daunting. It's exhausting living with the amount of snow that Lake Tahoe gets. And the other is the tourism. It's very crowded in Tahoe, and we're getting used to it. Over the years, it's gotten more and more and more people. So a little word to the wise, if you want to go to the beach or you want to go skiing these days, you got to get up early and get there if you're going to do it on a Saturday or Sunday. You know, make your plans and be prepared because it gets very, very crowded. But traffic-wise, it's very intense. It's crowded at restaurants and shopping. But I love it. I do love Lake Tahoe. I love living here better, but I love being able to go to the lake and skiing and everything else that we get to do there. Go camping, of course. So, but here in Carson City, you're like 20 minutes from Lake Tahoe. That's one of the coolest things. It's about 14 miles. Now, if you want to go sledding, that's kind of like the closest thing to us. You're like 15 to 20 minutes to get up to Spooner Summit, and there's a huge sledding hill. Another place that gets pretty crowded, but there's other areas around there as well. So if you want to go to the beach, though, the nearest beaches from us, if you're going to head north, so how it works here in Carson is you're going to head up Highway 50 up over Spooner Summit, and then from there, you can either head south or you can go north, and I'm probably pointing the wrong way on camera, but if you head north, your closest beach is going to be Sand Harbor. Now, of course, there's some hidden little beaches along the way. There's places to park off the side of the road, and you can hike a mile or two and find some pretty unbelievable spots down there. But if you're going to the typical family beach, Sand Harbor North is going to be about 30 minutes or so from us. And if you want to head south, then the closest beach to you there is going to be Zephyr Cove. So about a half an hour from Carson City. Of course, where you're located here in Carson will make a difference, but I kind of do everything from my office. So think about downtown Carson City. That's about the distance that you're going to be going to. Now, there are tons of beaches. I mentioned Zephyr Cove, but I don't want you to forget about the fact that there's the famous paddle wheeler there. So like cruises that you can take on Lake Tahoe. And there's also snowmobile tours that you can go on. Again, that's about a half an hour from here. So, and that snowmobile tours I've gone on a couple of times is really cool, kind of up in the mountains with beautiful lake views and stuff. And we even did a nighttime one time where you get to your destination and they do roasting marshmallows by the campfire. Pretty awesome stuff. I mean, Lake Tahoe is kind of like that, right? But if you just go a little bit further south, there's Round Hill Pines. There's Nevada Beach, which is honestly one of my favorite beaches to go to, and definitely, as far as Lake Tahoe goes, my favorite campground, Lake Tahoe. So if you have a trailer or you want to go tent camping, right there, Nevada Beach is awesome. And then if you want to go around to like the southwest corner of Lake Tahoe, there's Hope Beach over there I really like to go to. There's also Baldwin and Kiva. There is a ton of beaches that you can get to, but a little bit further once you start getting over to the west side there. You head up north and you can get to Kings Beach. Commons Beach is in Tahoe City. The one thing you will have to note though, unless you have a residence in Incline Village, which is like the northeast corner of Lake Tahoe, you cannot use those beaches there. They are designated just for the residents there. If you want to go gamble, and it's not just gambling, obviously there's kid activities and arcades and great dining and everything else, but the casinos are located on the north and south end of Lake Tahoe. And if you want to head south, that's kind of the bigger touristy metro area where you have Hardee's and Harrah's and Mont Bleu and I think Bally's now. So that the ownership changes a little bit. That's about 40 minutes from here. If you want to go to the north side of the lake, you can get to the Hyatt in about 40 minutes. That's in Incline Village. If you want to go to the Crystal Bay casinos where you have a couple other options, it's like 45 minutes. So good gambling, obviously good restaurants as well. So, and when I mention restaurants, think about the views. So once you have a little bit of elevation at these hotels, rooftop or top floor dining is obviously one of the best choices. So the views from Lake Tahoe are just spectacular. So really cool things, but other dining as well. So, your regular eateries and diners are going to be all over the area once you get to those locations. A lot of opera, like bar type, fare. So opera skiing, after you're done skiing, to have a beer and, an appetizer or something. Lots of good choices like that. Now, if you want to get to Emerald Bay, which is by far the most photographed spot in Lake Tahoe, you're looking at probably about an hour. Maybe a little bit over an hour. That's going to be over on the southwest corner of the lake, but you have to go see Emerald Bay if you've never been there. That's where the Vikings' home castle is, and you can actually park and take about a mile-long hike down into Lake Tahoe. It is a little rough walking back up because it is uphill the whole way, so if you're not, in real good shape, I'd probably recommend just staying on top and taking pictures. But the Vikings' home castle is right there on the shoreline. Exceptional place to go. And then you can see the Fanette Island, which is out there in the middle of Emerald Bay. But the view's, extraordinary. I mentioned the paddle wheeler earlier from Zephyr Cove. Most of those tours will take you across Lake Tahoe and around Emerald Bay for the views from over there. So definitely worth it, but a little over an hour from Carson City. Down in the south end of Lake Tahoe, of course, is my hometown. That's where you're good. Right next to where the casinos are is where you're going to find, Heavenly Village. That's shopping and restaurants and bars and just kind of like a really cool area. But that's where the gondola comes down from Heavenly Ski Resort. So that's where you can take scenic rides of the gondola. And at the top of the gondola, there's like this big deck with beautiful views, and you can hang out there as long as you want, or you can go even further down the gondola. And they have like summertime, they have like the mountain coaster and zip lining. In the winter, there's tubing. So there's a lot of fun things going on up there, food and drinks as well. But if you just want to go, oh, and of course, Heavenly is right there. So if you want to go skiing, you're only like, 40 minutes from Carson City there at Heavenly. But if you want to go north, your closest skiing is going to be Diamond Peak Ski Resort, which is right out of Incline Village. That's about 40 minutes away also. If you want to go to a little bit more intense skiing, North Star Tahoe on the north side kind of has it. You're going up, getting closer to Truckee, about an hour away. They have some cool stuff in the summer too. They have ropes courses, gondola rides. They do have a little village there as well. Not quite in comparison to the Heavenly Village, but still really cool shopping. I think they have the ice skating rink there in the winter time. So all cool stuff. Now, if you don't mind taking like an hour and 15-minute drive, you should go check out Palisades, which is the old Squaw Valley. That's where we hosted the 1964 Olympics. And the skiing there is dynamite. So if you're a good rider, skier, snowboarder, that type, you want something a little bit more intense than just cruising at Diamond Peak. Or even in Heavenly, there's some steep stuff there. But in Squaw, you can put yourself in all kinds of harm's way, to put it lightly. But a very cool ski resort for all levels. So, and of course, if you want to go hiking and biking, you're like 20 minutes. I mentioned Spooner earlier. Spooner Lake is right at the top of Spooner Summit. From there, you can access hiking trails and biking trails, and you can also access the Tahoe Rim Trail. So if you're a big hiker, you probably have heard about it. But Tahoe Rim Trail kind of loops around Lake Tahoe. It's like 170 miles. And the elevation just ranges like from lake level, like 6,200 feet, all the way up over 10,000 feet. So some crazy elevation changes. You can camp off of there. You can bring your dogs. Lots of the areas are accessible to bikes as well. So, Lake Tahoe is my favorite place, and I love living away from it, but not far enough where I can't enjoy it, because the camping, the skiing, the hiking, the beaches, they're all just wonderful. So if you're making a trip to Carson and you haven't been to Tahoe, make sure you put it on your list. Now you got to get here. Obviously, we're kind of in a little niche over here on the eastern side of the Sierra Nevada, and not only that, Lake Tahoe is huge, right? I mean, it's big, and the surrounding mountains around it. Carson City sits dead center, right on the east side of Lake Tahoe, down the mountain. To get to Lake Tahoe, of course, you have to get over the mountain, and so getting here is a little, I wouldn't say cumbersome, but you need to know how. And there obviously there's different ways. So first of all, if you're coming from anywhere else but California or Southern Nevada, then I would say you just fly here. And we don't have an airport here in Carson City. Unless you're flying your own plane, you can fly right on in here to the Carson City Airport. But Reno Airport's our best bet. I will be honest, I've flown out of a lot of airports over the years, and flying out of Reno is by far the best, the most wonderful experience that you'll ever have flying. Just it's so small. I imagine over the years, it's probably going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But ultimately right now, security's easy. It's not a big, huge airport. Walk in, get through security and get to your terminal within like 10 minutes most of the time. So really cool. But the problem is it is a small airport. So there's no like major direct flights. Like I can't get to Philadelphia or Orlando from here. And most people coming from the East Coast or Texas or something like that, you're going to have to fly to a hub to get to Reno. And usually that's either Vegas or Phoenix or Denver as the kind of the main ones. In the past, I used to be able to get to Chicago O'Hare, which was really convenient, but not anymore. Like I said, though, Reno's growing, and so I imagine that over time, the Reno airport's going to open up more, direct flights to places that are a little bit easier for people to get here, because right now it is a little bit of a pain with that layover guarantee, no matter what, unless you're flying maybe from, San Diego or something like that. But driving here, obviously the best. The majority of people that come up to our area are just driving in from California. So if you're coming from Southern California, like Los Angeles area, something like that, just come up 395. That's the easiest way. It's a direct shot. You avoid coming through Lake Tahoe. And it's really beautiful. I mean, there's some desert out there, of course, but you're coming along the Eastern Sierra, which is really kind of a beautiful drive, and up through Mammoth, and yeah, it's pretty, the whole way you go. If I'm traveling down to Southern California and I'm not flying, then driving down 395 is definitely the way I would always choose. Now, you can still come up I-5 from Southern California, and you can cut through Highway 88, or you can take Highway 50 into South Lake Tahoe. Either one of those will get you here. But one thing I do want to mention is when you get into Tahoe, and maybe you already saw my other part, but Tahoe gets really, really congested, especially during peak times. So weekends throughout the year, anytime during the summer, holiday periods and stuff like that. So if you're coming up to Carson City during those times, just be wary of the congestion that you might see in Lake Tahoe. Like I said, I-5, you can take 4 to 88 up through Jackson and end up here in the Carson Valley and get here that way. Really windy road coming up that way. 50 is also a really windy road, but not quite as kind of a lot of winding for a really long way. Coming from the Bay Area, same thing. Come up Highway 50. You're about 4 to 5 hours away, depending on where you are. And if you do have to come through Lake Tahoe, again, try to avoid the peak times. But you can always, try to get up over Highway 80, the north way too. So Highway 80 from Sacramento will take you right into Reno. And then from there, you can take Highway 580 or 395. It's pretty much the same thing to get you down to Carson City. Mentioning the Bay Area, I was just thinking about this because I'm from there originally. If you're going from the Bay Area, already, don't leave during peak times from the Bay Area either, because it takes you forever to get out. Back in the 90s, when I used to do a lot of skiing, my friends and I would get together and we would try to get off of work before 2 o'clock. But if we couldn't get off of work before 2 o'clock, we would just have to wait until after 7, because it wasn't worth our while to sit there in Bay Area traffic trying to get up here to the Sierra. We'll just wait and get up here quicker that way. So a lot of different options. Just remember, if you do come in through the Tahoe way, you get the beautiful views, you get to see Lake Tahoe, you get to see the casinos, and and all the cool things about Tahoe. Lots of street lights, lots of congestion, so it slows down. The other way you can do it too is you can travel by train to the Reno area. So obviously that's an option. You can actually get the train from San Francisco. You can come in from Sacramento, Roseville, Colfax. You can take it in from Truckee. Kind of a cool thing too, through the Sierra. It's all mountainside. It's a really beautiful way to travel to this area. So definitely an option for you there as well. Of course, once you get to Reno, whether you fly here or you take the train here, getting down to Carson City, you're probably going to need to rent a car. There's not a lot of public transportation options to get down this way. Plus, you're going to probably want your vehicle while you're here anyway. So if you can drive here, that's ideal. If you have to fly or you want to take the train would be more fun. Expect to rent a car when you get here. So lots of ways to get here, lots of fun adventures to be had. Let me know if you want to know more.